Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again. This is going to be a little bit out of character from what I normally do, and as you can see in the background there's some Call of Duty footage again, just to kind of cover you over while I talk. This video is really in response to, well, quite a few videos that are talking about the next generation of consoles. More specifically, it's in response to Woody's Gamertag and some of his videos lately that have been talking about the next generation of gaming consoles. In general, I enjoy a lot of Woody's videos. He seems to be pretty informative and pretty unbiased. I mean, he plays on Xbox, but doesn't seem to be too, unwilling to throw a compliment to other consoles, and he just seems to be generally, a tech enthusiast, which makes sense given his background. But some of the stuff he's been talking about his next generation of consoles has been interesting because he's been talking about how the gaming companies, Sony and Microsoft, both seem to be going toward a future where games can't be resold. And he's kind of brought up Steam as a leading example of why that's okay, or why that's something that, looks to be successful for companies and consumers and whatnot. And I was reading through a forum, thewargamer.com, and came across a link to a article which is actually pretty interesting and relevant to both Steam for PC as well as the next generation of consoles. If they do try and force this inability to purchase used games on customers, they could end up facing some legal action. Valve, the owner of Steam, recently has been under attack, if you will, in Europe. I'm in America. I know Woody's in America. I know a lot of gamers are in America, but this is an important development because, it doesn't matter if the PlayStation 3 is available in America. It's also available everywhere else. So typically they're going to need to abide by laws pretty much anywhere they're going to sell. And this is important because Steam, like I said, is under attack in Europe right now by some legal groups which are saying that their policy of not allowing consumers to resell their games is in violation of some consumer protection laws. The European Supreme Court actually ruled back in July of last year that the exclusive right, and I'm quoting at the moment, the exclusive right of distribution of a copy of a computer program covered by such license is exhausted on its first sale. What that essentially means is once you sell your software to someone, they have the legal right to resell it to someone else. Another part in here says that an author of software cannot oppose the resale of his used license, allowing the use of his programs downloaded from the internet. So this statement by the Supreme Court of the European Union, or the Court of Justice of the European Union, basically says that if you are selling software, you cannot prevent people from reselling that software. Now, there's a lot of ways that people can get around. You can say you're not intentionally not allowing the resale of your product. You can make it more difficult, but you still have to technically make it possible. So, if they're going to have activation codes or other things like that, technically that activation code has to be allowed to be resold to another person. It might make all digital games much more difficult to resell. What are you selling? Just a code? But it is something that I think is important and relevant because you could see similar legislation come out in the United States. I'm not sure if it will, but that is one kind of interesting little tidbit, because if Steam is ordered to cease and desist, preventing people from reselling their games, I certainly think Sony and Microsoft are going to be keeping a close eye on that, because while the US market is big, so is Europe. And, what affects Steam in Europe will certainly affect Sony and Microsoft in Europe, and could have a pretty big impact. You could see the consoles maybe require an activation code, but that activation code legally may have to be able to be resold. So it might not totally end the used gaming market. It certainly would make it less convenient and would certainly probably put companies like GameStop out of business, or at least substantially reduce their revenue. But to say that it will be impossible is probably, well, at least it could be wrong. Basically, Steam required users to agree to their new terms and conditions saying that you can't resell your code to some other user and that it can't be used on another account. And now they're being essentially told by several consumer activist groups in Germany that they need to cease and desist, or they're going to bring this suit against them based off that Supreme Court ruling that I told you about, where it was decided that you have to allow software to be resold. So, starting to kind of ramble here, so I guess I'll just kind of cut that off here. I just thought that was something that, you know, was interesting and definitely worth kind of keeping an eye on where this goes. It could have some profound impacts on consoles, PCs, the way Steam, the way Microsoft, the way Sony, the way they all do their business. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. But it's already been ruled, as I said, in Europe that software has to be able to be resold, and that once you sell a game, you cannot prevent someone from reselling that game. So it will be very interesting. I think the most likely outcome is just they're going to make it technologically difficult to do, and the hassle will prevent most people from doing it. Whereas you'll still technically be allowed to resell your game, but it just won't be convenient. But we'll see. We'll see where this goes. Also, for those of you who are interested, the link to the article that talks about the legal action that Steam may be facing in Europe and the link to the court decision back in July of 2012 are available in the description. And thanks for watching this video, and have a great day.